Well, hello there. Welcome back to another episode of building this immense loft layout. So I've been making great progress. So come and join me and I'll show you what I've been doing. Here up in the loft, and it's been another week, and one of the things I'd like to say is that duct tape, and that is duck as in quack quack, it's a particular brand name in the UK. I can't really recommend it, and I'll show you why. This is what happens when you leave duct tape for a week. It was covering up all those gaps. Look at the state of that. It's all just peeled itself off. So cannot recommend duct tape. Steady progress up here in the loft, and we now have internet and proper power. That plug socket that you see over in the corner there turned out wired into the lighting circuits, so that's been isolated and won't be using that. Came a little bit too late to actually remove it from the wall, but they're now dead. But what we've done is plumbed down into the room below, done it as a spur, it's fused, so you see the two plug sockets come to there. I bought a ready-made extension piece for doing the job because I thought, let's do it properly, and that's how it comes up to. Given a coat of white paint to that across there. Looks a bit messy, but all that is just to seal the wood, and that'll be below baseboard level. And I've mounted an extension socket there, and up there is proof that we're on the internet. So all of this equipment's come from out of the shed. I don't think actually that's going to be the final resting place for that monitor, because actually I struggle to see it from over where the computer will be, but it just shows we're making a bit of progress. So it's all going in nicely, and just trying to get a little bit more of the blue paint on. I've slapped a quick coat on this sheet over here. Still got a lot of stuff to finish off, but it's cleaning up nicely up here. Today's actually a Sunday, so the problem with that is that there's no wood yards open to go and get supplies. So it's just simply a case of doing what I can with what I've got. So yeah, this old monitor's doing all right, but it's tremendously small. It's actually very difficult to get a decent view of up here, but I wanted to address some of the potential criticisms that have come in. Firstly, about the floorboards. They are secure. They've always been dry. They're just dirty because of an accumulation of soot which has come from the chimney over many, many years, no doubt, because the slates, by nature of slate roofs, don't have, there's like little gaps, and the soot will get in, and over nearly 100 years, although I don't think these floorboards haven't been up here for 100 years, it does build up, but slowly cleaning up. What else? Somebody said about fire risk. Right, well, those dark pieces of insulation you see there waiting to be covered are flame retardant. So there's an inch of that underneath everywhere, and underneath that is the Ecotherm foil backed, which again is flame retardant. So none of the insulation will actually burn, and it's just being panelled with a thin sheet of 6mm ply so that I can screw things in and all that. The fire break wall, now nicely panelled behind all of that. Again, it has been treated to a layer of the flame retardant solid insulation. That's all underneath there, partly because, it keeps things nice and warm, but also it being flame retardant, we're good to go. There will be a fire extinguisher coming up here. I've yet to buy it, but I will keep a fire extinguisher in the roof space, same as we've got one In the kitchen, I think it's prudent. I think it's a sensible thing to have up here. Now, this room is not going to be a habitable room, and one of the reasons is basically because that's the only way in and out. Not only that, the headroom is lacking, so somebody suggested, oh, you should do it out as a bedroom. No, certainly not going to do that. It's not, I mean, you could get a double bed in the space, but you really wouldn't want to, in all honesty with you. And people will not be allowed to spend the night up here, so it won't be used like an emergency bedroom. I'm not prepared to let that happen. There's no window because that would involve major surgery to the roof itself, a major structure of the roof, and I'm just not prepared to do that because the way the roof spars go, you'd be talking about having to make a large hole, dig a hole through them, cutting stuff, taking slates off, just not really prepared to do that. What other criticisms came in? Things about the breathing masks. Right, when I was filming, I had a very, very strong light on, and it gives the illusion of a lot of floaters in the air. That's not the case, and I have been using a breathing mask. The old one I was using is somewhere over here, so you can see that's pretty spent. I do have another one, but I shan't be really needing it. In terms of over here, where you do still see a bit of insulation, that, when the woodyard opens tomorrow, will be getting covered up and more floorboarding screwed down. But over here, I'm just going to use 6mm ply. Why, I hear you say, and no doubt there'll be somebody going, oh no, but you'll go straight through into the room underneath if you try and step on it. Well, look at the headroom. And this is all going to be underneath baseboards and just purely for storage. So absolutely fine, everything is taken care of. I need another piece of that insulation there. I basically ran out. What else? Tomorrow, again, finishing off into this corner. It's dark and dreary, but I need some more lights up here. Now, I brought one in from the shed. I've put it up there, just hooked it to a beam. It's plugged in. I do have some more like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a few of them around. And I also want to put like a strip LED light behind these purlins up here. And they will help illuminate the model. So I think it's all going to go pretty well. I'm also going to illuminate underneath the lower deck of the model. But what I really need to do now is go and get cleaned up. I've done pretty much all that I can up here. I'm going to turn that computer off. That was really just proof of concept. And I hope you'll join me tomorrow. Well, actually, it'll just be after I click my fingers, the miraculousness of, what's that error come up on the computer? This computer's not been used in quite a while, so we're getting, all this stuff like, oh yes, Avast needs to restart your computer because it's just updated. Yeah, it's because it's probably not been switched on in nearly a year. So I'm quite surprised that it actually works. Normally computers deceitfully format themselves and have loose connections. Although I'm going to have to wade into there because the SCSI array has decided to not show up. It'll just be a loose cable. It is always a loose cable. Now, as you can see from there, I like hardware. I like cramming computers full of as much hardware as it's physically possible to cram them with. And this one's no exception. It's getting on a bit, so I'm almost certain, in fact, no, I am certainly going to be replacing this computer because it is just woefully underpowered for what I really want it to do. But as a temporary measure, proof of concept, it's up here. Now, I did bring to your attention the duct tape, and somebody did comment saying, no, it's duct tape. No, it isn't. It's duct tape. Look it up. Wikipedia it. Google it. Duct tape is a brand, and not really a very suitable brand for this job. It just doesn't want to stick to either the Ecotherm board or, as it turns out, this other stuff. It remains sticky. It will stick to itself, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to reapply it just before I panel that with plywood, so the plywood will sort of squeeze it all together, and that should be fine. But yeah, still a lawful lot of work to do. So with the magic of editing and jump cuts, when I click my fingers, we're going to be back up here and with a huge amount of wood, and we're going to be cracking on with that work. Back up here in the loft, I've actually been hard at work. I've been to the woodyard, and what you can see starting to develop over here is the baseboards. So we're getting to the good stuff now. This has taken a lot of work. First off, I've set the level across there that's bolted to the wall, so that's pretty sturdy. And then I've started building the cross bracing. This isn't screwed down, but you can see under there all of the woodwork coming together. And I'm just tying it back on itself to give it strength and to make sure that the levels are all right. And hopefully I won't get all the way around the room and find that there's some kind of level difference. That would be a bit of a calamity. But I'm going to be building in some gradients anyway. So what I need to do underneath here before I fasten this top on is I've got to put the supports for the filler yard level that's going to go underneath. And actually this area here is perfect for, I've minded to just fill this with hidden sidings underneath here on a slightly lower level, and that'll give me a huge amount of storage. So I'm going to lay the pieces underneath here, get the track on, fastened down and tested. I'll test it on DC because I'm not really in the mood to mess around today. But then that will hopefully give me a whole load of storage sidings, and then the gradient will be over here somewhere going up to the upper level, which isn't necessarily going to be the upper level. There may be a third level above. Well, in fact, there will certainly be another level with another model up there. Whether or not these two are connected, I'm not yet decided. It may be too big a gap to connect them so that they just run between, and it may be that the hand of God will move stuff between them, and that's fine, because the model that I'm planning for above, Kirby Stephen East, I might just leave models on there which would just live on there. I'll probably set it maybe Big 4 period, and then all my Big 4 stock can just live on the upper level. But I haven't really decided. It's still early days, and there's no point in constraining ourselves with arbitrary thoughts about what I'm going to do down the line. Let's get to that point first, really. So I'm going to crack on. It's not really conducive to filming. It's very hot work. It's not desperately hot up here, even though it's hot outside, unseasonably so. But I'm gonna crack on and hopefully get all this area sorted. Well, we're rocking on. Haven't fixed any of that track down, but I've got that level in. The stuff on top is just now being stored there. It was a convenient place to put all the cut plywood. It's not actually fastened down. But moving over here, this is where the progress is at. So we've tied stuff into the purlin, and there's a wall straight underneath there. So I've got a leg there, making the most of that. And what I'm planning on doing now is I need to infill crosswise across there, and then I can plan out where the ramp for the lower level will go up and join the upper level, and that's going to have to run across the back there somehow. So I've got some very complicated woodwork to do to fit that in. I don't think the gradient's going to be too bad, but effectively the train has to fit underneath that beam with clearance, but be at the top height before it gets to that end. But with the added little bit of a complication that I need to also have cross bracing to support everything. So I'm going to have to think long and hard about that. And I think the best thing is probably to test fit the ramp, which I'm going to use these cut pieces, 4-inch wide plywood. I'll fit them in and unbraced, but just going down, and see how that pans out. So it'll probably be a tight curve over in the corner hidden away, but I can manage that, and that'll be pretty good actually. You can see there we've got the first piece of plywood on for the top baseboard level. I've decided I'm not going to have the ramp up at the back there. I think it's too inaccessible. So instead these are going to be dead end sidings underneath here, and with a ramp up somewhere around there on the outside I think is going to be much better. But this is ever so hard work, I thought this would be the easy bit after lining it out, but actually this is taking so much more effort and work than before, but I'm gonna get on with this. Progress today has been, well, rapid. I've got the most basic of the skeleton of the supports all the way around, but I've actually run out of wood again. It's just unreal how much wood goes into this. I think I'm all right for the plywood for the tops, and all that's just loose on there. I've just put it there to clear the floor. But round here, I've actually started work on the raised section. Now, anybody who knows Tyne Yard knows that it's a hump yard, which means that one half of the yard is a little bit higher than the other. And what I've done here is I'm just going to move this out of the way. And what you can see there is I've used 4-inch risers screwed to the framework underneath, some scrap bits of wood, just to give something for this board that I'm holding to go onto. And that there, incidentally, is where things like transformers, switches for the controls for this end of the yard are all going to be, and probably my computer keyboard as well. And that across there is going to be where, well, essentially the Tanfield Railway would have gone through towards the Bowes Railway. When Tyne Yard was built, there was a railway that kind of went through an NCB line, and it just passed underneath the yard at the point approximately upstream of the hump. So that's just a representation of that. And it was quite fortuitous because I had that gap and I was wondering how to fill it. And then I thought, actually, I can just have the representation of the railway. So I'll use some scrap track underneath there. And down at this end, it'll all be disguised. So you won't really see that piece of wood across there, which is part of the structure. So that's what that's going to be, with a bridge over the top. And it'll all be weathered up and look pretty grotty. And that'll come together nice. Fitted that in around there, and I need to start laying some track on the lower section for the storage sidings so that I can then start fixing the upper section on. And that's actually what I'm planning on doing next. And actually I could do with getting a coat of paint where I've been panelling. I've panelled some of the walls today and yesterday. So I'm not going to make any progress if I'm yabbering on to you. So I'm going to get on with it. But although one last thing I'm going to say right now is I've had 4 pick and mix bags of screws from Wilkinson's. It's a great way to buy your screws, but I've cleaned them out in Bolton of 3 different screw sizes, and it just eats screws. So you can never have too many screws when you embark on a project like this. Trust me, you will use them. Been cracking on and started to lay some track. This is on the hidden storage sidings that will be on a lower level, and got 2 sidings in there and a point. First point, I've attached a point motor to the bottom of it. I had 3 spare point motors, so I've picked one and attached it to that point. That point, incidentally, for those interested, is the one that was outdoors on the Garden Railway. So it's certainly seen a lot of action. But it's just a spare one that I had to hand. It's pretty grotty, just like a lot of this track. This is all recycled from the Garden Railway. And I'm going to use as much as I can, because obviously track costs money. So I'll get some of this used down here. It's just going to be storage sidings, so it's not going to be run on intensively. And I reckon I'm going to get away with making some use of this. I'm probably going to have 5 tracks side by side down here that'll start to feed back to a single line, which is then going to have a ramp that comes up and will join the main layout somewhere over there. And that's the plan. But I've got backache from bending over so much, so I'm going to probably call it a night now. I'm going to go and have a nice long luxurious hot bath. And I need to send a message to Derry, long-time friend of the channel, because he's been organising a whole load of point motors and points that I'm going to be going down to Shrewsbury to pick up. So road trip, I call shotgun. Well, it's been great to have your company here whilst we've been looking at what I've been up to up here. And I hope you join me next time when I'll show you all of the immense progress that's been going on. It's coming together well, isn't it? But I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like this video and share it too. And also, if you've not already done so, subscribe to the channel and you'll be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. But until next time, you take really good care of yourself and I'll see you then. Bye for now. Today's video has been brought to you in part thanks to the generous donation of my fans on Patreon. And an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Mark Anthony, Michael Churchwood, Mark McShane, Bob Threeton, Alec Ralph, Anthony Hunt, and William Wade. If you'd like to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk. Thank you. Today's video has been brought to you by my books, Bringing Home the Stars, Twinkle Little Star, and also you can get the complete comic collections of All Over the House, Books 1, Books 2, and also the wacky zany Life of Knobty Mouse. Thanks, and catch you later.